I've always enjoyed the people part of working in the church. Probably the most memorable job I had was the 7 years I spent at Mount Vernon Place United Methodist Church, which is the church located a block down the street from us. And it was interesting. I tell folks all the time I had all the keys to all the doors where African Americans could not have in previous years. So it was an interesting assignment. Because of segregation. Because of segregation.
The church was segregated.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Wait, you must talk more about that.
Well, Asbury and Mount Vernon were a block apart. Both of them were segregated at that time. Mount Vernon Place had probably 2,000 or 3,000 members. Asbury probably had maybe 2,000 members on the rolls. We have 1,000 people still on our rolls. I'm sure we had 2,000 people at that time. But Asbury was the mecca, I guess. And I really don't want to use that term because people still want to throw that in our faces. But Asbury was one of the premier churches, I guess. We had a lot of people who came to Washington who wanted to join Asbury.
African Americans.
African Americans.
Okay.
Mount Vernon Place had an equal number of white folks. And we didn't do a lot of things together.
Why did they hire you?
Because I was good. I'd also established a relationship with the pastor, who is still a good friend of mine. I consider her a friend. And I was qualified.
And that happened through the work with the Heritage Center, or just how did your paths initially cross?
Well, I worked at Asbury for about 2 years. I'd worked at another United Methodist Church, Good Hope Union in Silver Spring. So after I left Mount Zion, I worked for several other churches. So I was leaving Asbury because Reverend Shockley wanted to hire a full-time person, and I didn't want to work full-time. So Pastor Donna needed an administrative person, so I went to work with her.
So over the years, then, the Methodist Church, you're out and involved in various activities where you do come together with other pastors.
Oh, sure.
And they were white and black. Okay.
Yes.
So now you have the keys to this establishment, and you are just doing your thing. And you say those 7 years you think were some of the most memorable.
Yes.
Why so?
Well, because I got to talk to people face to face. When I first went to Mount Vernon, they were in the process of redeveloping the church. So they tore down one of the buildings, and the pastor and I were in a trailer that faced the new Marriott Hotel. I loved it. We still talk about trailer times when I see her, because we were able to really greet people face to face, where you can't do that sitting in an office 2 or 3 levels above the building. So I got to really interface with homeless folks, with people in the church, with community organizations, because the church was used for a lot of community activities. When the building was finished, the Wesley Theological Seminary has the 3rd floor in the building, so I interfaced with all of the students who lived there. They also held classes there, so I interfaced with all of the students who went to class, probably for 5 years. So I got to know a lot of the pastors and people who were going into class. I met Pastor Adam Burdell there.
Who was subsequently
who was
at
Asbury. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the other folks. But I met many of the African American and white pastors who came through there working on their DMins and their doctorates at Wesley.